Good evening, everyone. Despite looking like I'm the main event with not one mic, not two mics, but three mics, I'm actually not. Chuck is, and he's down there. So thank you very much for coming, everyone. My name's Rich. I work at Lean Mean Fighting Machine, and I'm also the chairman of the IPA 44 Club group that puts on these talks. And every month we have a pretty, well, I wouldn't say it's a vicious debate, but it's a debate anyway about who we should put on. And the remit we give ourselves is to, for sort of the younger end of the industry, to inform, educate, and inspire them. And to us, it's always felt like that's in difficulty order. So informing is relatively easy. I'm sort of doing it now. Educating, I'm sort of not, but it's sort of medium. And inspiring is pretty hard. And anyone who went to see John Haggerty at the IPA the other day will probably agree. And he was pretty inspirational. So as soon as David, who was also on the committee, said that Chuck was in town, and we grabbed it with both hands. We didn't really sort of try and post-rationalise it or anything, because he's pretty inspirational for anyone that's seen him before. So if you don't know who he is, then you're probably in the wrong industry and almost certainly in the wrong room. So I'm not going to talk about like where he started and what he did, because you all know that. So all of that is sort of done. I've got a few house rules. There's going to be some Q&A at the end, so it's just going to be sort of roving mic stuff, although some people have already asked some questions, so we're going to do that. And there's a hashtag, but you have to put your phone on silent. So a hashtag, which is IPA 44 Club. So without further ado, I have for you Chuck Porter. Very good.
First of all, I want to thank you for having me. The advertising industry in Great Britain has always been known for extraordinary achievements in creativity, and I'm flattered and honored to be here. Wouldn't it be great if I did it all like that? And I was like, oh my God, how do I get my money back? Okay, I apologize. I got to do a disclaimer up front. I don't know why I'm here, because I really don't know anything. I was a freelance writer for 17 years, and then I did this agency thing. I've never worked for another agency. So my experience is that limited. So any questions you ask, I won't know. In fact, there was an award show in the U.S. about a year ago, and they asked me to do the ad for it, and this is the ad I did. What I do know is that talking about creativity is bullshit. You look at the work, and it's either there or it's not. So imagine you're a 15-year-old kid, and you go to the movies, and this is what you see.
You know, an operation like this does have a certain cost attached.
What if there was a deadly, toxic substance harvested by man?
42-year-old male found down.
NG to open barrel.
Capable of killing thousands of people in a single day.
In the last 24 hours, about 8,000 people just got 6 feet shorter.
What if someone manufactured this substance in massive quantities?
She's seizing.
Let's kill them now.
And a select group of people knew about it.
A whole lot of people are dying. A lot of the people are making money off of it.
Then what if the knowledge began to leak out?
Someone's gone public.
Get creative with it.
Mr. Senator, there's no conclusive evidence.
I have the death toll figures right here.
Would anyone believe it?
Just don't wipe out a population the size of Manhattan and wake up and play golf the next day.
Watch me. I'm not gonna stick around and become the spike on somebody's bar graph.
Dude, you watch way too many movies.
This is not a movie.
So that's a spot that we created for a brand that we created called Truth in the U.S., which is a sort of an anti-teen smoking brand. It wasn't pro bono. They gave us money. And what we learned from this ran in movie theaters all over the U.S. And at every theater where it ran, kids, because the audience is 12 to 15-year-old kids, that's who we're targeting, kids came out to the ticket booth afterwards and says, when does that movie start? And so we realized, I think what we realized at that point is that popular culture is currency. And that in any given segment of popular culture, people have to know about certain things. For kids this age, it's movies, music, TV, sometimes sports. That's what they have to know about. So I think that that's probably, and this we did about probably 17 years ago, I think that that's when the agency decided what our real job is to manipulate popular culture. That's really the most potent thing that we can do. And I think another thing that we learned from this is the power of the story. It's storytelling, regardless of the medium, regardless of the technology, I think it's storytelling. I'll talk a little bit about this, but I hate people who say that. I'll talk, because they think, oh, well, shit, now later he's going to. Anyway, I think we learned then that, wow, what we really have to do is tell great stories. I want to talk about a few other things we've learned. I'm going to show work, because like I said before, talking about, early on a reporter asked Bob Dylan, like, what are your songs about? And he said, well, some are about 4 minutes, some are about 5, which is kind of the way I feel about creativity. It's like, if you have to talk about it, it's probably not there. But I do want to talk about a few other things we've learned. We started as a little agency in a little market. I mean, we were in Miami. Miami is the very fringe of the advertising world in the US. So one of the things we learned early on is to sort of use creativity instead of money. And we always had challenger brands. We never had category leaders. So we learned don't feed the gorilla, which is don't do what the category leader is doing. And it's interesting because I think a lot of marketers think, well, okay, they're the category leader. We should do what they're doing, which is the exact opposite of what you should do. When we introduced Mini Cooper to the US, Mini Cooper came in and they had about, I don't know, about 20 million bucks, which was dramatically less than Volkswagen had for the Bug or any of their competition. Beyond that, we believe that Mini Cooper was really more of a fashion accessory than a vehicle, at least in the US. So we agreed with Mini, whatever a car brand would do, introducing a new brand, we won't do that. So typically car brands in the US, when they're introducing a new brand, they do outdoor, because people are driving and they see outdoors, so they do outdoor boards. So we said, okay, instead of doing outdoor, we knew we had a pretty urban market. We put the Mini on top of SUVs, and we went to like 7 or 8 cities in America with this Mini on top of SUVs. Said, what are you doing for fun this weekend? And when we showed this to Mini, to BMW, who owns Mini in Munich, they're German. So they're like, how do we measure this? How can we measure this? We don't know how to measure this. And so we said, we don't know. We think it's cool. There's no way to measure it. So they sent marketing people over from Munich, and they rode around in the SUVs with us. And what they did when they got back to Munich, they said, okay, we still don't know how to measure it, but what we do know is this. Everywhere we stopped, whether it was in Las Vegas or Los Angeles or Miami, wherever it was, whenever we stopped at a stoplight or a shopping mall or whatever, people took pictures of us. No one takes pictures of our outdoor boards. So I guess that they became believers. The other thing that typically car brands do in the US when they're introducing a new brand is they go on sporting events. They go on baseball games and football games because there's a male audience and it's the right audience for them. So we said, okay, instead of buying time on sporting events, let's buy seats. So we bought boxes at football games and we put the Mini in it. And this was, Monday Night Football is very big in the US, and this was at a Monday Night Football game. It got 61 seconds of airtime, which was worth roughly $1.2 million in media, and I think we paid $22,000 for the box. So even the Germans liked us. And the Saints won. The other thing that happened with Mini is the Mini dealers are used to TV, right? So the Mini dealers yelled at Mini and said, we got to have TV, we got to have TV. We got to have TV that says, we have dozens of Minis on the lot, come in Saturday, da-da-da. So we said, okay, the dealers want TV, so this is a TV we made for them. It's not really what they expected. Another thing, I'm going to take this off. Someone in our office said, a couple of people said, you should wear this scarf because it makes you look friendlier. But I think this is going to go on YouTube, and people are going to say, who is the old guy pretending to be a metrosexual? So. Another thing that we've learned early on is stay loose and back winners. We tend not to do like year-long, like big creative platforms and say, here's what we're going to do in March, here's what we're going to do in June. And we tend to throw a lot of stuff up and see what gets traction and go with it. We did a thing, which maybe people know a long time ago, called the Subservient. It was a Burger King thing, and it was this chicken who would do whatever you wanted him to do. and it got like 100 million hits in the first 24. It became a phenomenon. And so we said, okay, there's something about this guy dressed in this weird chicken outfit that people seem to like. So we picked up on that, and that's what our campaign basically was for a year. And the other thing I think that we learned through this campaign is that the internet is global. So what happened is that this chicken became iconic in a lot of weird different markets, in Japan and in Portugal and Spain and in Brazil. So we followed up on that. So this is some stuff we did in Spain when Burger King was introducing this new chicken sandwich that was a little bit sweet and a little bit spicy.
Pollo. Un poco dulce. Un poco no tan dulce. El nuevo Tender Crisp con salsa de mostaza y miel de Burger King. Carne 100% pechuga de pollo.
This is another spot that we did in this campaign, which I want to show you because it only ran 3 times before they took it off the air.
Pollo. Un poco dulce. Un poco no tan dulce. El nuevo Tender Crisp con salsa de mostaza y miel de Burger King. Carne 100% pechuga de pollo.
There are people who thought that was mean-spirited. Some people have no sense of humor. I think that there's a myth out there in terms of things that we've learned or things that we believe. I think that there's a myth that technology has changed everything. I mean, if you talk to a lot of people in our business, they say, okay, everything is changing and you're screwed because you don't know how to do this and everything's going to change. And I don't really think that that's true. I think so far, I don't know what the future is going to be, but I think so far, what technology has really done, at least in the US, and I think it's true in the UK as well, is it's made it easier than ever for the audience to ignore you because they can multitask and go online, or they can TiVo you or blow through your commercial. So it's very easy to ignore you. But the other side of that coin is that if you engage them, it's easier than ever for them to fall in love with you, to go online and learn about your brand and learn about your product. So I think that what technology has really done, I think it's a good thing for storytellers, because I think that people who can tell inviting, engaging stories and give people either entertainment or information they really want, I think that new technology is good for them. I hope that what happens is that new technology results in fewer shitty ads because people won't look at them. But I think the bottom line is that interrupting people is not such a good marketing plan anymore because people don't have to look. And I think we were again lucky because we learned that early on, that sort of everything is interactive. We always tried to use traditional media in untraditional ways. And I want to show you a little campaign that we did for a Canadian beer called Molson. We did it in the US. They were a small brand in the US at the time. And they wanted to do TV like everybody else. And we said, okay, for every spot you run, Budweiser can run 300. Do you really want to play in that game? So we convinced them it wasn't a smart place to be. Their market is young men, young 21-year-old men. So we said, okay, let's take magazines, because men still read men's magazines. Let's see what we can do with that. So we did this ad. It's the worst ad we've ever done. It's maybe the worst ad ever done. It says, his address is the intersection of confidence and compassion, and his beer is Molson. Okay, we ran this in Cosmopolitan magazine. And then we ran this ad in a whole bunch of men's magazines. It says thousands of women pre-programmed for your convenience. And what it says is, it's got this pseudoscience that says, okay, we ran this ad in Cosmopolitan, women saw it, so they think Molson drinkers are da-da-da, and it goes through all the psychology of it, and that people, anyway. And what happened was, Molson got hundreds and hundreds of requests for reprints of this ad, which they had never gotten before. So we said, okay, there's something in this magazine thing. So we convinced some men's magazines to sell us the back cover so that we could do fake magazines. This is the first one we did. It's called Trust Fund, the magazine for people about to inherit millions. That was the back cover, and then on the inside of the back cover, it told you how to use it. It says a whopping $90,000 investment in you. It said, we bought this back cover of this pretend magazine, so when you go to a bar or bring a girl over to your house, leave it on the coffee table and it'll work. And what happened with that was, all of the magazines that was the back cover of sold off the newsstands. They were like, okay, we got something in this. So we did another one which was called Aspiring Groom. When you're ready to commit. And some of the articles are Bachelor Parties, the Drunken Orgy You Just Don't Need, and Why Your Stuff Has to Go. And then this is the last one we did, Animal Rescuer. So it was an interesting way to, I guess we got into interactive early because we had clients who didn't have any money. Another thing that we believe is that ads are good, but inventions are better. Domino's is a client of ours. We do a lot of TV for them and a lot of traditional media. But the thing that we created for them that cost about $1 that's probably been as effective in expanding their market share, which has expanded dramatically as anything else is, Domino's promises in the US is they'll deliver it in 30 minutes. So we created a thing to go on the bottom of a TV screen when you order online, or even if you don't, you can get it on your screen, and it's called the Pizza Tracker. And what it does is, because we found they had all this big data, they knew who was making your pizza, who was going to deliver it, exactly at what stage it was. So we put it on this Pizza Tracker, and it would go on the bottom of your screen and it said, okay, Jeff is now making your pizza, and Wendy is now in the car delivering it. And we found that people were sitting watching this. And not only that, people would order a pizza and they'd put their kids in front of the TV and say, let us know when it's in. And so again, we sort of followed a winner, and we've created a bunch of these. This is what it looks like if you're watching a baseball game. This is what it looks like if you're on the shopping channel. And this is what it looks like if you're watching soap operas. And I think it's interesting because one thing we learned from this is that this revolution that's going on right now isn't about writers and art directors and designers, because this idea didn't come from writers or art directors and designers. It came from IT. Another thing that we believe is inventing media. You tend to get a good deal when you can invent media. And we try to think, we don't ever start with ads. We start someplace else. And we had a client, Virgin Atlantic. I promise I'm going to be done in 3 minutes. We had a client, Virgin Atlantic, and it was interesting when we looked at Virgin Atlantic, when we had it, they made all their money from one route. It was London, New York, and it was business travelers. That's where all their profit came from. So we said, okay, who are these people? These are business travelers between New York and London. They're mostly men, that's just a fact. And how do we find them? Well, you know, we could run in the Wall Street Journal or the London Times, but what they're all doing is staying in hotels. They're staying in hotels in either New York or London. So we went to pay-per-view, LodgeNet, and said, look, we want to buy a spot. We'll give you free content. And they said, we don't sell. So we negotiated, and finally we got on there because we found out an interesting piece of data. The fact is that most male business travelers, when they're by themselves, the majority of them buy an adult movie if they're available in their hotel, and they watch it for an average of 7 minutes. I just play the cards I'm dealt, okay? That's the reality. So we made this 7-minute film, and it ran, you know, if you're looking at like previews and on the pay-per-view, and it says, you know, these are the blockbusters that we have this movie, and then the music goes on and said for late night. And if you were watching LodgeNet during that time, this is what you'd see.
Meet the CEO of her very own lingerie company.
I own an international lingerie company.
Go Jet Set, Go Productions presents a story of one woman's initiation into the mile-high world of business and pleasure.
Mixing business with pleasure, then.
Sweet and innocent.
All right, so it goes on for 7 minutes. I'm embarrassed, I'm sorry. A lot of people think that we're arrogant jerks who only care about awards, and that's not true, and it hurts our feelings. Our kids see this. The truth is we're arrogant jerks who don't only care about awards. We measure everything because it's how we get paid. Almost every client that we have is on some sort of a performance-based compensation agreement because we've done that for a long, long time because it puts us on the same page with our clients, and we all have the same sort of incentives. And I think one thing that we've learned from that is to swim upstream. We realized a long, long time ago, Alex and Bogusky and I were talking, and we said, okay, the mini stuff is really cool, but none of it's as cool as the mini. the product is almost always, unless you're talking about liquor or scents, cologne and stuff like that, in almost every other category, the product's always the most important part of the brand. It's always more important than the advertising. So we try to, when we can, get upstream with our clients and actually become a part of the product development process. And when we had Burger King, one of our creatives, you know, in the US, the majority of people who buy Burger King eat at least some of it in their car. So we were looking for things that people can eat in their car, and he came up with this concept of chicken fries, and we worked with Burger King Kitchen, and they created these little white meat chicken fries, and it's been a huge hit, and I wish we were getting 10 cents a box, but we're not. But so it was, because it was about driving, we partnered with NASCAR, which is the big racing thing in the US, and this is the commercial we created for chicken fries.
Back in the early days, they used to hand me the whole chicken on a pole.
You see how we put this chicken on that pole? They'd run that car in there, just stick that chicken right in there in your face.
Then they came up with a drumstick. You get the grease all over your hands, it goes right to the steering wheel. Well, then they incorporated the chicken sandwich, and you know, that didn't work out at all. Now they got the chicken fries, all white meat, streamlined for high-speed consumption. You gotta feed the need for chicken fries.
Thanks. I think we do pay a lot of attention to analytics because, like I said, it's how we get paid. But I think it's very hard, and I think we've known this for a long time, it's hard to research yourself to glory. We believe this. We believe that you should measure everything that you do, but you can't pre-measure creativity. I think it's impossible. There's a school in the US at University of Pennsylvania called Wharton, which is a big deal graduate school, business school, and I'm on a board there. And a big international consumer company that I won't name just gave them $100,000 to study what makes a video on YouTube go viral. And I'm like, they gave you $100 grand. I will tell you for $1. This is what it takes. Puppies or babies or people falling, that's what makes a video go viral. These people are trying to figure out how to pre-measure creativity. And I think the people who do that more than anyone else is Hollywood. Hollywood focus groups everything. They spend more time trying to figure out if anybody's going to go see this than anyone does. And there's an interesting story. Lionsgate Films, who does a lot of the focus grouping, the film at Lionsgate, in the history of Lionsgate, that is focus group the best, got the highest scores from focus group, is a film called Aquila and the Bee. This is true. I've never seen it. I guess it's good. The film that scored the worst in all the focus groups they've ever done is Pulp Fiction. So I think that begins to tell us it's almost impossible. There's a producer, her name is Lana Wachowski. She actually used to be Larry Wachowski, but in any event, she produced all the Matrix films. She's now producing, anybody know the new film Cloud Atlas? It's the new, anyway, she produces that. Here's what she says. She says, originality cannot be economically modeled. So we try very, very hard to try not to pre-measure creativity because we've seen it be wrong too many times. Another thing we believe is that what you do for an advertiser, what you do is more important than what you say. Best Buy is a client of ours, and we talk to Best Buy's audience all the time, and one thing started to become interesting for us, which is people said, I don't want to buy this new thing because there's another new thing that's going to come out after it. It's happened to me before, new technology comes out. So we worked with Best Buy and we created a buyback program where they would buy back your thing when the new technology came out. This is the commercial we did for it.
It is the newest, even newer.
Everything else is obsolete.
I just bought this one! What the? 3D.
Oh, wait. Oh, 4D TV? Stupid.
You got the wrong TV, silly head.
The new buyback program. You buy it now, we buy it back when the new thing comes out.
So I'm showing you all this traditional media. I'm showing you outdoor boards, and I'm showing you TV spots, and everyone here is saying, what? Where's the social media? Where's the interactive? And we do a lot of that. It's boring to show it. Look, here, I'll show you. Okay, we did for American Express at Small Business Saturday. It won a Grand Prix. I think it won 2 Grand Prix at Cannes last summer. This is what it looks like. Isn't that exciting? It was a great program, but you can't show. I'll show you one other thing. We work on Jell-O in the US. This is, if you want to, you can go online and put your own music in and the Jell-O will dance. But if you're not actually putting the music in, I mean, the thing about interactive is it's interactive. If you can't interact with it, yawn. So that's why I'm showing a lot of traditional stuff. We use the internet a lot to measure ideas, and partly because sometimes we have ideas that are very hard to sell, so we put them up online to convince the client that we won't get sued. Sometimes we do get sued. And also we just use it to test our ideas. Is this a good idea? And I want to show you one example. When we worked for Coke Zero, when the promise of Coke Zero is it tastes just like Coke. So one of our ideas was, why don't we call lawyers and have the Coke guys say, we want to sue Coke Zero because it tastes just like us. So what we did is we actually called real attorneys in Atlanta. We filmed them secretly, and we had these two actors act this out. So these are real attorneys. I just want to show you one that went up online.
Would you agree that these two products taste similar?
Yes.
Very similar?
Yes.
Yeah.
So then do you think that we, as the Coke brand, would have a case against the Coke Zero brand? Because they've infringed upon our taste?
It's a novel theory.
What can we do inside or on this floor within the two brand teams within the company to really bring this to light and shut it down?
One of the things that I would do is consider possibly threatening these folks with a preliminary injunction.
How long would that take?
Well, we could write a threatening letter within a few hours.
Okay, that's very good.
So
I want to do that.
We could do that.
Okay.
Is there anything that has happened recently that makes you this concerned?
My neighbor had a graduation party for his daughter, junior high graduation, and cooler was filled with that.
There is the possibility that consumers will start drinking that, thinking they're drinking that.
That's exactly that's exactly our point of bringing you in today. I'm glad you understand what our case is.
Well, let me ask you, what would your proposed end game be? What would your
That they were crushed and Ron, their director, was in the fetal position crying under the copier. Crying.
Da, 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 da. So we did that online, and it got lots and lots of hits, so that became their sort of initial introductory campaign. Another thing we believe, I think I said it before, is don't start with advertising. About a year and a half ago, an interesting group of people came to us. They're co-op farmers in the U.S., and they grow half the carrots in the U.S. So they said, sell carrots. So we're like, and they're like, you know, the great thing about carrots is they're really healthy. So they've been doing advertising, little bits of advertising for 25 years saying they're really healthy. Everyone on earth knows they're really healthy. So we looked at this and we said, okay, carrots are a couple $100 million a year. The snack food market in the US is $22 billion a year. So why don't we make them snack food? So we repackaged them. We called them baby carrots. There's no such thing as baby carrots. These are just carrots that are cut down to be little. We repackaged them like snack food. We put them in grocery store aisles like snack food. We pretended they were snack food. That says the original orange doodle. We even created vending machines that went into schools, because schools are into healthy foods, that vended carrots just like they vend candy. And it was an interesting campaign. We didn't do any advertising per se. We did a couple spots, but they sucked. So this is kind of what we did. And the New York, also we did these scarrots for Halloween. You had them out, and we sent them to the White House, and we heard that Michelle Obama actually handed them out, but she wouldn't let us talk about it. It got on the front page in the New York Times, and when all of this stuff started to happen, we went and sat with these guys in California, the carrot guys, and we said, okay, here are the charts, here's what's going on. And this is actually a verbatim quote. What they said was, we're going to need more carrots, which I thought was sort of interesting. We started out as a little baby agency and a little market. And I understand that there are some people here not from London, from smaller markets. We started out in the smallest market of all, and we couldn't afford to hire experienced people. So early on, we created sort of a template for people we hire, and this is it. We hire for brains, talent, passion, curiosity, and experience in that order. I think it's pretty easy to teach someone advertising. It's not easy to teach someone to be passionate or smart. We started out in Miami, which was a tiny place, and we started to outgrow it, and we got to the point also where, you know, we had to recruit a lot of people. Not everybody wants to live in Miami, in any place. Not everybody wants to live in London. So Alex Boguski and I talked a lot, and we're like, what do we do to get the right people and to keep our people? You know, we're not going to give them dental. They're all 23. They don't give a shit about dental. So we said, you know, here's what we should do. Let's give them a choice of lifestyles. Let's say, okay, if you don't want to live in Miami, you can live somewhere else. Where else should we open an office? So we picked Colorado. We didn't have a client within 1,000 miles of Boulder, Colorado, but people like to live there. Smart people, that's a place where they want to live. And it's the opposite of Miami. We figured almost everyone in the world would either love Miami or Boulder, Colorado. Miami's big, cosmopolitan, urbane. It's open all night. Boulder closes at 9 p.m. It's very homogeneous, and everyone rides their bike all day, every day. So we said, you know, everybody would like one of these two places. You know, this is what Boulder's like. And Miami's really more family, I think. And the last thing I want to say is never use the money excuse. When we were a little agency, we did stuff really cheap. And we're bigger now, and we have bigger clients now, we have bigger budgets, and we have creatives from time to time who say, well, shit, I can't make this spot. I've only got $400,000. That makes us very, very, very unhappy. And we show them this commercial, which we made 22 years ago, back when I wrote everything and directed everything and did the voiceover because we couldn't afford them. This spot won a Lion at Cannes, and we're very proud of it. It's for a little men's store in Miami, and we're very proud of it because the Lion actually cost more than the spot.
Okay, first you've got to get a nice suit. The suit is very important because that's how you get her to notice you. Then once you've got her attention, make your move. Subtlety is the key here.
Thanks, the end. They say there are going to be questions. I'm happy to do questions. I don't do math. I don't do science. I know a lot about geography and history.
So what I'm looking at here is a bunch of questions that people have submitted beforehand, but let's ignore them for a second. So has anyone got any questions from the floor? And Amy is going to run around and give you a microphone.
Okay, well, oh, shit. See, I want to tell you, as soon as one person asks a question, it's like, oh, everyone's going to... Okay.
Hello, Chuck. I'm Sam from Leeming Fighting Machine. And I was curious about how do you get bigger but still remain creative? I know Crispin's got big quite quickly, but the work you were doing was kind of work that you'd come up, associate with a small kind of hot shop. So it'd be interesting to see how you retained that creativity as you grew in numbers.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. It's what I think about every day. I always used to think when we got to be more than 100 people, we'd be screwed. Because I always believed, like the Romans had centuries, right? They had 100 men and they had a centurion, and then they would go to the next one because they figured one guy could only know 100 people, right? And so I figured once we get beyond 100, we're going to suck. And then we got bigger and we got bigger. The answer is I don't know the answer. I don't know how you stay good, and I don't know how long you can do it. What I do is look at the work. And if the work is still good, I figure we don't suck yet. And I think also one of the things that we're doing, which I think is one of the things we're experimenting with is creating multiple creative factories. We have one in London, we have one in Sweden. Our office in LA is getting much, much bigger, and we're going to put a creative leader there. I think that what we're experimenting with is a bunch of small places rather than one giant place. And go to the award shows next year and see if it worked.
Cool. There's a challenge. I've got one for you, which is on here, which is sort of based on everything you've just shown, really, which is there's a lot of funny, good, sort of quite fun, childish work up there. Do you think you can brand the sort of advertising?
Childish?
No. Well, Minnie's quite...
I buy childish. I'm okay with
compliment.
that. That's good. Yeah.
Do you think you can brand the sort of work that you do, and do you think that's a forte, or do you think that's a dangerous thing to do, or do you not even consciously try and do it?
Well, I only show the funny work.
No.
I mean, I'm not showing all the really boring stuff. I We do a lot of different kinds. I mean, like those two things that I showed you that were more interactive things. Like the American Express stuff we do is very serious, and I wouldn't say it's very serious. I hope it's entertaining, but it's more business oriented, and it's not jokey. And we have other clients. We have MetLife, was a big life insurance company that the work has a little bit different tenor. You know, I hope it's all intelligent. But I mean, I hope that we don't. I think for a while we had a pretty discernible style. I don't know if we do anymore. So I don't know if that's a good answer. That's the best I can do.
It's good enough.
Okay, I'll send over a reel of like boring work.
Yeah, by all means, go for it. Yeah. Here's one that's been previously submitted, which was, where was the most unusual place you found yourself in when you came across a fantastic creative idea?
Do
you want to come back to that? Now?
I can't remember ever coming across a fantastic creative. So I don't know. I don't know. That's a hard question.
All right. Well,
I don't know. I probably Sarajevo.
Okay. Who knows? Where's Amy gone? And who's got a hand? And who wants to put it up?
I think that was it for the questions.
Shout out. You were saying about the drive for corporate side of social media, but one of the things that most ad shops and media shops are tasked with is dry social media for corporates. So how did you make American Express or any other kind of more corporate-facing social work?
I don't necessarily think it has to be dry. And I think that we do a lot of interactive stuff that's really interesting stuff and very engaging stuff. It just doesn't present well, you know, because, like I say, you have to interact with it. I think that, you know, I think we've done some work for a lot of our clients that's really fun to play with. Like we did a thing called Whopper Sacrifice, where if you defriend people, you know, I mean, it got pretty famous. But you have to play with it to have it engage you. You can't just look at it. I think that generally speaking, good work for corporate clients starts with coming up with a solution to their business problem. You know, like American Express, their problem was they wanted more people to use American Express cards at small businesses, which is a specific market for them. And so we thought, okay, what do we do to get more people to go to small businesses and use their Amex card? And the answer is to get more people to shop at small businesses. How do you do that? You know, in the US, there's Black Friday, which is the big shopping day. There's whatever they call it, interactive or digital or Cyber Monday, where people shop online. So we co-opted Saturday, and we got governors to buy into it and stuff like that. So it was really a solution to their business problem. And the work is engaging and the work is informative. It's not funny or exciting, but I think the business solution is what it was really about. That's a terrible answer to your question, but I actually like what I said. It just didn't answer your question. Sometimes you win, sometimes you don't.
Wow. Where's Andrew Bevan? Yeah, there he is. Right, for everyone that doesn't know Andrew Bevan, he's been working in advertising for a total of 3 weeks. 4? Oh, I'll have to change it then. So what do you suggest he does in the next 4 years? What are you? What do you do? Okay, he's a planner. So
and the question is, what should you do?
For the next 4 years, like he's just started. Everything is in front of him.
I would say join clubs and groups of your own interest, take care of your grooming, and most of all, be yourself. I don't know, you know, I don't know. Here's what I think. Do really good work tomorrow. When I did this agency thing, I had never done an agency. I didn't know how to do financial forecasting or future planning or any of that. What I knew how to do was good ads. So I said, okay, here's what this agency is going to be about. Every day before we go home, we're going to do something really great. That's what we're going to do. Everything else will take care of itself. And that's what we still do. We don't plan ahead. We come in tomorrow. We might have won a big award yesterday. That was yesterday. We come in tomorrow and say, okay, before we go home today, let's do something really great. And if we do that, everything else will be okay. So my advice to you is do something really great tomorrow. I didn't mean to be inspiring.
Yeah. I don't know how to read that.
I just told you what we do. That's it.
Has anyone got any more questions? Go on, one more. I don't know. Do we need it for the cameras? Maybe. Yes, we do. Nod, nod, nod.
I don't know if the people behind me can hear. I met you earlier. I work at the London office. I was reading recently, especially...
I know that. I know that. Most of the people here are from CP+B. So.
I was reading recently, I got a few friends in LA that they're starting up like one-man agencies, and there's a term going around called like growth hacking, which is, you know, basically one-man shops that, or one-woman shops that promise clients that they can create viral campaigns and invent new media and do all the things, you know, that you kind of talked about. Are you finding, especially perhaps in the western part of the States, that they're becoming a real threat to agencies? Or do clients still want to spend the money on a team that's going to bring them a result?
Well, I mean, I think clients these days do not want to spend money. You know what I mean? I think that we're going through a transition to it's a sort of austerity thing. I don't know. You know, I suppose if someone started a one-person agency, I mean, I suppose if Steven Spielberg or started a one-person agency, it'd probably be pretty good. You know, I think it depends on who it is. I think that work is generally better. I don't believe committees can do work. I don't think any focus group has ever written a good story. But I think work is generally better if you have people to talk to about it. So I don't know. You know, there's an agency in New York called Co, which is founded by a couple of very, very senior people, and their whole concept is there's only going to be 3 of us. There's going to be an account person and a writer and an art director. That's all. And everything else we're going to hire. Well, now there are 31 of them, you know, because they're finally like, well, we need someone to get coffee, and you know, so the answer is no. I don't think it's a threat yet. I don't think serious clients, generally speaking, are going to be very attracted to something like that. But I don't know. I think we'll see. You know, all of this future stuff, like what's going to happen next. I'm old and rich, and I don't give a shit. So you know, it's gonna evolve the way it evolves.
On that note, let's. Oh no, have you got one more? Go on. Last one. That was funny.
That's such a great line that you finished on. So I feel
really free to use it. You're not quite old enough.
Thank you. A lot of the work that you showed us was what I would call standout. And do you think that drives new business? So clients wanted to come to you because you were doing just very different, fresh stuff?
Yes. In my experience, it's the only thing that drives new business. You know, our new business process has been answer the phone. You know, and the phone rings when we do something great. And somebody says, I want that, I want some of that. So, yes, I think it does.
There you go, secret success. You finish with a great line again.
Thank you.
Sorry, we'll cut that out. Chuck. Everyone give Chuck a great round of applause. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.